Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Dear respected viewers, we welcome you again to the level 2, the 5th lecture or episodes. This lecture will be tackling the story of creation and in particular book of Genesis. We'll be doing some reading from the Holy Bible, as they call it. But Dr. Gharama has chosen to pause for a while when it comes to part 1, 3 and 7 to give some very important relative commentaries. So without any other introduction, allow us to proceed with the reading and also the commentary. In the book of Genesis, we read the following. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good. And here Dr. Gharama pauses for a while to comment on this use, in this phrase. God saw that the light was good. We'll come to it when we finish this part. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And again, Dr. Gharama paused for a while to comment on this concept of day and night before the creation of sun and moon. It's worth really pondering upon. Then we continue to read, and there was evening and there was morning the first day. So allow us to pause and to relate to you the important relative commentaries done or given by Dr. Gharama. The word, or the expression فَاسْتَحْسَنَ in Arabic, which translates that God saw that the light was good. Really, how can we talk, in such use about God, who knows everything beforehand and afterhand, as if he discovered that this creation or what he has created looks good, So God saw that the light was good. He knows the unseen. He knows everything even before creating it. We will leave it to you, dear viewers, to come to your conclusion about this. Then, when it comes to talk about the day and the night, here the reading goes that, there was a day and night, while still there is no creation yet of the sun and the moon. So even this is contrary to logic and common sense. And also we talks about that there were day followed by night. So we are talking about a day which could be 24 hours. While in the Holy Quran, when we talk about the day and the night, we are talking about a lapse of time, a period of time. Now allow us to proceed to the second part. And God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from the water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. Again, God called the expanse sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. So the second day is over. We come to the third part. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let the dry ground appear." And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Again, we are using this expression, and God saw that it was good, as if he didn't know that it was good beforehand. Then we proceed to read. Then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land that bear fruit, with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and the trees bearing fruit with seed in it, according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. So here it is talking that God has created the grass, the trees, before the creation of the sun and the moon. And anyone with a little knowledge about science, we know about what is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is that without the light of the sun, this operation of photosynthesis within the plant cannot take place. As a matter of fact, this action or this operation of photosynthesis in the plant cannot be done or cannot take place without energy from the sun. So we leave it to you, dear viewers, to come up to your conclusion that how can we read here, how can common sense accept and logic that all these, the grass, the trees were created before the creation of the sun and the moon. Now we proceed to part 4. And God said, let there be light in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years, and let them be light in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 4th day. We proceed to the 5th section. And God said, let water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky. So God created the great creature of the sea, and every living and moving thing with which the water teems, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let birds increase on the earth. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 5th day. We move to talk about the 6th day, then the 7th day. In the 6th day we read the following. And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, and male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for good. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning. The sixth day is over. Now we come to the seventh part, on which Dr. Gharama made a very important, thoughtful commentary. The seventh part reads as such: Thus the heavens and the earth were completed, all in their vast array. By the seventh day, God has finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested. I repeat, he rested from all his work. So according to the Holy Bible, on the seventh day, God has rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested. Again, we still have this concept of resting. Because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he has done. The commentary that Dr. Gharama made upon this seventh part is this day of the seventh day, this concept of resting. Maybe you can use this, concept of resting for a human being, but to talk about God, the Creator, the all-powerful, the mighty, that he rested, this is really contrary to what has been, mentioned in the Holy Quran. That, it cannot be said. In the Holy Quran, we read the following: no any sense of fatigue or weariness, if you like, could ever touch us. God speaking about himself. So it's really impossible to say that God, he was fatigued or he was weary from this creation. So the Holy Quran make it very clear statement. I'll read it again to pass to you, dear viewers, that this cannot be accepted. It is really kind of insult, to describe a certain habit that exists within us, a human being, to God Almighty. So the Holy Quran, there is no doubt about this, and there is no even mentioning of a resting day. The Holy Quran, Allah says, no any sense of fatigue or weariness could ever touch us. Now we come to talk about a very important event, the creation of Adam and Eve, upon which many dogmas, many sects, many religions, many faiths has been built. So we are talking about the creation of Adam and Eve. In the creation, we came to know that God has created the grass, the trees in the third day. And he created Adam in the sixth day. So, dear viewers, we should pause, as Dr. Gharama did, on this concept to again repeat to you. According to the Holy Bible, the plantation, the grass, the trees, and so on, they were created on the third day. And Adam was created on the sixth day. However, in certain reading, we come to read that when Adam was created, there were no grass, no trees at all. It is complete contradiction. Again, we leave it to you, dear viewers, to judge and to come to your conclusion. But it's really, beyond imagination to say that this creation was created, the grass and so on, the third day, and then sixth day Adam was created. Yet in another statement we read that when Adam was created there were nothing, no vegetation, nothing. So this maybe shows you that there must have been some tampering with the quote-unquote holy book. Now we come to talk about the location of paradise, or as they call it, Garden of Eden. Now we read, we quote from a quotation, and the Lord has established Eden, or Garden of Eden. We in the Holy Quran, when we talk about the Garden of Eden, we have no doubt at all it is in the heavens. But the Holy Bible relates something else. According to the Torah, this Garden of Eden is located in Iraq. The text reads as such: the Lord has created the paradise or heaven to east of Eden, and in it he placed Adam, whom he formed, and he implanted, the Lord implanted the earth, all the trees with the good looking and with delicious taste. All these were implanted for Adam, and among these plantation, the trees, there were two trees: the tree of knowledge and the tree of eternity. Now Dr. Gharama dwells for some time to talk about these two trees in particular: the tree of life or eternity and the tree of knowledge. So the name is the tree of life or the tree of eternity. The other tree is the tree of knowledge. The knowledge, or that is, if every person, any person who eats from this tree of knowledge, he or she will be able to distinguish between good and evil. As for the other tree, if someone, the tree of life, if someone eats from it, he or she will be immortal. Now we talk about the status of Adam. He was alone, lonely, so God has chosen to create other creatures like beasts, birds, and so on. And he lifted to Adam to name all these creatures, whether they are beasts, whether they are birds, or whatever. Contrary to the Holy Quran. In the Holy Quran, we are told that it was God who inspired to Adam to name all these things. But according to the Bible, that it was, the choice of Adam to choose names for all these creatures. Then the Lord caused, the Lord has chosen to create Eve in order to relieve Adam from the loneliness that he passed through. So in the text we read the following, that God has fated that Adam will get into a deep sleep. While sleeping, God has taken one of his rib and he put some kind of flesh inside, in place, and then from this rib of Adam, God has created Eve. And then the Bible continues to comment that, and that is why, because the Eve was created from the rib of Adam, that is why you will find that the man, he might be close and attracted to his wife, and he will be deserting his father and mother. Of course, this is debatable, but this is what has been said. The question that Dr. Gharama raises here: who's saying such thing? Was it Adam? Was it a revelation? We don't know. We leave it to you, dear viewers, to deduce your conclusion. Now we talk about the serpent and the cunning nature of the serpent. Under the title, The Fall of Man, we read the following: and it was the serpent, which is the most cunning beast or creature God has created. This serpent came to ask Eve, is it really that correct or a fact that God has ordered you ordered you to eat from the tree, but not to eat from a particular tree? So Eve answered, she said, we are allowed to eat from all the fruits of the Garden of Eden, except the fruit in the middle of the garden. We are allowed, or we are forbidden from God, neither to eat from it nor even to touch it, in order not to die. So this is Eve talking. Dr. Gharama, he drew the attention of the participant in the course. He said, you notice here that they came to talk about the serpent, that it is the most cunning creature that is ever created. So the question now that he raises, do they mean by this serpent the devil or a real serpent? He goes on to say, or to talk about another event, the event after the eating from the forbidden tree. The Torah relates that God was walking, quote unquote, walking. I don't know. He said, Dr. Gharama, let's overlook this. While, talking about God, that he's walking like us in the garden and so on, is something really beyond the imagination. But let's overlook this to a more really insulting happening, that God, he called upon Adam, because Adam, as soon as he heard the voice of God, he hid with Eve amongst the trees in the garden. So God had to call upon him. Oh Adam, where are you? Here again we should pause for a while. How can God, who knows everything, he knows the unseen, that he will be looking for someone who's hiding beside a tree? So Adam answered, oh God, oh my Lord, I heard your voice, so I hid behind the trees or among the trees, because we, talking about him and Eve, we are naked. So God, he told him, how did you know that you are naked? Did you eat from that forbidden tree? As if God is deducing the conclusion. Really, this is really a big insult to God, to talk about God as if he's a human being, that he finds certain event, then he deduces his conclusion, that because he can see, so this means he must have eaten from the forbidden tree. While God then knows the whole, the unseen, knows everything. Again, we leave it to you to think about it. So Adam, he put the blame upon Eve. She said, it was her who tempted me to eat from the forbidden tree. So the Lord asked Eve, what have you done? So Eve, to defend herself, she said, it was the serpent who misguided me, so I ate from it. So the Lord, he said to the serpent, you are cursed amongst all the beasts, and you will be crawling upon your belly, and you will be dust or sand will be your provision, will be your food. So the serpent is cursed, and based upon this curse, she will not move anymore on limbs, as if that snakes used to have limbs. She will be crawling upon her belly, and she will be eating dust. the Dr. Gharama then he talks about what is the nature of this serpent. Is it are we talking about the real serpent that we know in this life, or are we talking about a figurative use, that what is meant by the serpent is the devil? So again, when we talk about this, we will continue to relate the what happened when God cursed this serpent, and he said there will be animosity between you and human being. He will crush your head with his ankle or with his feet, and you will bite his ankle or his heel. Then we talk about some even more strange comment, that it says that as if that when God was fearing that they will not be, he forbade them from eating from the tree of life, because if they did, which they did, they will be immortal. So they will be like God. When we talk about immortality, so God. Now we read that the tree that from which Adam and Eve has eaten, that they were threatened and warned by God, by the Lord, that if they dare to eat from these two trees, whether tree of life or tree of knowledge, they will die inevitably soon. And what happened? They didn't die. They ate and they did not die. Now, Dr. Gharama pauses for a while to comment upon this story. He came out with about 10, yes, with 9 conclusions from this story. The first deduction that he reached is that, according to the Holy Bible, the Garden of Eden is located in Iraq. And then he asked, if you use Google Earth, you will come to know, is it a Garden of Eden or no? Then, when we talk about Adam and Eve, that Allah has created them, and they cannot distinguish between good and bad, between good and evil. So here we should pause and talk about how can God blame them, since they don't know and they cannot distinguish between good and evil. How can God or the Lord blame them for eating from the tree? We leave it to you. A third conclusion that Dr. Gharama came to, the connection or connecting knowledge to eating from a tree, ignoring the brain, the DNA, and all these things, that Allah has bestowed and has distinguished human being from other creatures by giving them brain to think with, to deduce, to know. While the story here just relate that this knowledge, the only way to come to this knowledge and distinction between good and evil is by eating from a tree. Number 4, they were blind, and they discovered that they were blind, and also they were naked. But how can, if they were blind, how did they manage to see the tree and to eat from it? And not only to see it, even they mentioned that the fruit looked tempting. So they were seeing. Again, this is kind of contradiction that cannot be really explained. Also, that the idea of death, that they were warned by God that as soon as they eat from the tree, they will die straight away, and nothing has happened. Maybe they attribute that God didn't know, and we leave it to you, really. God forbid, but we have to relate what is happening. It's really difficult to say that God didn't know. God knows everything, but we are here explaining what has been written in the Torah. So as if God didn't know that they have eaten from the tree except the next day. And so since it's over, the day is over, so they did not die. The sixth point that Dr. Gharama points out is the timing, the date of this happening, the creation, the story of creation. Here they talk about 5000 BC, before Christ. Of course, if you count it until nowadays, we are talking about 7,000 until now. While it is known fact, a historical fact, that this cannot be. The pyramids and the Sphinx in Egypt, they have been, built many, many years ago. Even the creation of man, you can time it that it was millions of years ago. So how can we limit it to 5000 BC? Then Dr. Gharama comes to talk about the, and then he says, okay, let's ask a geologian and biologist about this, They are the people of the field, and surely they will comment saying that this cannot be such, it cannot be believed. Then Dr. Gharama talk about the seventh point, about the serpent. Did they have limbs or ends to walk on? And now they are just crawling on their belly. They lost their limbs. Really, it is something beyond. No biologist or geologist has ever proved that they used to have limbs and now they are without limbs. Also, he talks about Adam and Eve. In the Holy Quran, they are glorified. It talks that they were sane, they were rational, and God was addressing Adam and Eve as rational, mature people who know and can distinguish between good and evil, and that this tree, it has nothing to do with eternity nor with knowledge. It's just a matter that this tree is harmful for them, and also maybe it is the tree of disobedience, so they were forbade from eating from these trees. Then he talks about a very important issue, the issue of the agony, the pain during childbirth and delivery. We were told that as a kind of punishment for Eve, that she will suffer and she will have pain, a very severe pain during childbirth, as a punishment. So here we should pause for a while. It's not only female human being who go through this suffering. How about animals? Animals go through the same agony, through the same pain. So it's not only Eve or female who go through this. So the question raises, did those female animals commit a sin? We leave it to you. Then we talk about something different, and that is the death of Adam and the descent of Adam, starting with his son Shetha rather. So we were told that Adam lived 930 years. Then he had sons. He had Shetha, and then also, by the way, Shetha has lived about 807 years after his father Adam. The text also talks about other sons by Adam beside Seth. They talk about Anush, Genan, then Mihaleel, and Mihail was given, he had a son called Yared. Then Yared came out of Yared. A descent from Yared is Achnoch, and so on until we come to to Abraham. May Allah be blessed. May Allah have peace upon him and upon our prophets and all the prophets. And then from Abraham we come to Jesus, peace be upon him. Finally, Dr. Rama sum up for us the story by saying that the story mentioned in the Torah, it relates or pass to us that that Adam and Eve were ignorant. They don't distinguish between the good and the bad. They were blind. They cannot see. They were naked, and they didn't know that they are naked. So even here, what is the relation between the ability to see and not to be aware that you are naked? There is no relation. And then also that the Garden of Eden was located in Iraq, and this happened, and that the date we're talking about is 7,000 years ago until now, or you can say 5,000 before BC, before Christ. All these, cannot be truthful, cannot be at all. And we should know that, and also it has been mentioned that the coming to know or distinguish between the good and evil can just come, or it can be reached by eating from a tree. Also, that to be immortal, all you have to do is just to eat from a tree, a certain tree in Iraq. And also he talks about what has been mentioned about this sword with with fire. It talks that no people cannot go to Iraq because there will be angels with sword, and this sword is lit with fire. All this, we come to the conclusion to say that all these mentioned events really lack credibility. With this, we conclude this episode.
أكاديمية التعريف بالإسلام أكاديمية التعريف بالإسلام أكاديمية التعريف بالإسلام